Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We're going to start the evening's festivities. My name is Randy Mastro, Chair of Citizens Union, and it's my... Thank you. It's my honor to welcome you all here tonight. As you all know, not much has happened over the past year. A little insurrection in Washington, a new governor, and now a new mayor. So there's never been a more important time for an organization, a nonpartisan, good government group that cares about honesty, integrity, transparency, accountability, and ethics in government. Now, Citizens Union is about to celebrate next year its 125th year. And we have gotten there because of the work of an incredible board, and I just want to thank some of them for making tonight so special. Christina Davis, Tony Smith, Judy Blitzer, thank you to all our great board members. But it's also an incredible staff that has worked tirelessly through this shocking period in our history. And I have to thank our executive director, Betsy Gottbaum, for leading the team. And all of the staffers who've made this happen, thank you. But this couldn't happen. This couldn't happen, the important work that we do as advocates and in the recommendations and endorsements that we make and in pushing government to do better for all of our citizens. We couldn't do that important work without the support of all of you. And that's how we are able to do that work. So thank you for your support. Please keep giving generously and give yourselves a round of applause. Now, we have some incredible honorees tonight, some people who are very near and dear to us and our mission. So I want to get on with the program so that we can properly honor them. But first, I know that our new governor wanted to be with us, but she has sent a message. Her Lieutenant Governor, Brian Benjamin, was here earlier, and I now would like you all to see a message from our new governor. Thank you.
Good evening. I want to thank the Citizens Union for the opportunity to join you for the 2021 Gotham Greats Dinner. I first want to recognize Executive Director Betsy Gottbaum, Chairman Randy Mastro, and the Board of Directors for their leadership in making Citizens Union a leading organization for government reform. I also want to congratulate tonight's honorees, Barry Burke, Lisa Blau, and Eleanor Randolph. All of you have made significant contributions in your various industries to not only improve civic life of New York, but to ensure that government is responsive and transparent to the people it serves. I attended this event back in 2019, and certainly much has changed since then, including my position. But what has not changed is my lifelong commitment to open government, accountability, and transparency. But while nice sounding, these words ring hollow without the actions necessary to bring them to life. And that's exactly what I committed to do on day one of my administration. That's when I released the full scope of nursing home deaths and ordered state agencies to get through the inexcusable backlog of FOIL requests and began to change the culture so all employees were free from harassment. This week, I signed a law mandating that all materials for public meetings be available online 24 hours prior to the meeting, just as I did in my 14 years as a council member. We also made more information on the MTA available, and we're just getting started. I said my goal is to give New Yorkers a reason to believe in their state government again. Teaming up with Citizens Union, we will continue our fight to ensure the public has access to government information. Citizens Union has been a force for change, not just fighting for reform, but fighting for New Yorkers to have the government they deserve. Congratulations.
And now we are going to see a video featuring our first honoree, and then I will come up and have a few words to say. Lisa Blau.
Introducing Lisa Blau, one of Citizens Union's Gotham Greats.
My name is Eric Adams. I am the Brooklyn Borough President, and I have known Lisa for about 3.5, 4 years.
My name is Daniela Ballou-Ayres. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Leadership Now project. I met Lisa in a cafe here in New York in 2017. She's really this mix of someone who is passionate and has a vision for how things need to change, but then is extremely both pragmatic and a doer.
She was going to tell you exactly what was needed to accomplish a particular task, and she was going to do it in a very forthright way.
She is not afraid and courageous to engage on an issue that a lot of people are nervous about engaging in: democracy, policy, politics. What we really need is our best, most committed talent engaging on those issues.
During the Democratic primary, she saw how important it was to make sure that people had access to vote and understand the power of their votes. She got people engaged who historically would not have participated in the primary election at all.
What I'm struck by is how Lisa has been a force empowering women in multiple spheres. The women that she's invested in have now built companies that have gone public. The way that she approaches it is with really deep commitment. She's there to make sure that you succeed and you have the advice and partnership that you need.
She has brought in a woman into running for office and being engaged and empowered to find the right candidates that they want to fight for those women issues.
When she has a stake in something, she's going to act, and she feels that stake in American democracy, she feels that stake in the women she invests in. It's investing with the purpose of building something that is enduring and healthy for the long term.
I believe Lisa's a modern day fighter. I think that there's a Lisa inside every woman in the city that's waiting to come out, and she let them know, hey, it's all right to come out. You don't have to take the back seat to anyone.
Lisa, it's been such a privilege to partner with you on our long-term projects to renew American democracy, and congratulations on receiving the Citizens Union Gotham Great Award.
We congratulate Lisa Blau, a Gotham Great.
What can I say about Lisa Blau? Some people see a problem and hope that others will fix it. Lisa Blau sees a problem and goes into action, as if she didn't have enough to do as a co-founder of a successful venture capital group. She saw a problem in our local democracy, in our all-important primaries, that those who were registered as Republicans or independents, they basically were going to be foreclosed from being able to participate in the other party's primary. And she decided to do something about it. So she founded Be Counted New York City. She co-founded Vote for NYC's Future. And she went into action and achieved, in the most difficult circumstances, with COVID preventing the ability to really communicate and making it harder for people to vote, she opened up our voting process in the highest traditions of what Citizens Union is all about. So I could not be more proud to be presenting the Gotham Greats Award to a Gotham Great, Lisa Blau.
Thank you so much, Randy. I am so grateful for this honor and to be recognized by Citizens Union, an organization and community of thought leaders for whom I have tremendous respect. Prior to 2021, only about 5% of voting age New Yorkers and less than 23% of registered Democrats voted in the Democratic primary. the election that selects the mayor of New York City. Because of our closed primary system, independents and Republicans are ineligible to vote unless they change their registration by a deadline that is 4+ months prior to that primary. The process is confusing at best and punitive and restrictive at worst. In 2013, Bill de Blasio became mayor for 8 years after winning the support of less than 10% of registered Democrats. How is that okay? It is not. So we decided there is something that we can do about it. That was a big conversation in our household last year. As the city was suffering through COVID, people had left the city, crime was rising, jobs were disappearing, and the city's physical and fiscal health was in deep crisis. It was a moment that called for action. And my action came in the form of 2 independent expenditures, which ran the largest targeted voter mobilization effort in the history of New York City. Be Counted NYC mobilized nearly 20,000 Republicans and independents to re-register as Democrats ahead of the February 14th deadline. After that deadline, a separate IE, Vote for NYC's Future, began outreach to over 1 million moderate registered Democrats who don't regularly vote in mayoral elections. The New York City Board of Elections reported that a little under 1 million New York City Democrats voted on June 22nd, making this the highest turnout mayoral primary this century. I believe we played a key role in that positive outcome, along with the very worthy efforts of others. I was simply looking to give every citizen the opportunity to have a vote that is counted. And I am most interested in having elected officials who are actually representative of the broader electorate. To do that, I believe New York needs to continue the important strides it has made in modernizing its election laws and expanding the opportunity for New Yorkers to participate in the democratic process. Establishing statewide early voting, consolidating state and federal primary elections on the same day, and enacting automatic voter registration have all been critical in ensuring the democratic process is open to every New York voter. However, there remains a critical weakness in New York's electoral system, which is in need of reform: the closed primary process. In 75% of all elections nationwide, the ultimate outcome is determined in the primary. In states with closed primary systems like New York, this means that millions of registered voters are prohibited from participating. They are effectively disenfranchised. The impact is corrosive. Elected officials can hold office for decades without ever engaging with voters outside of the small minority of voters from their own political party who regularly show up and vote in primary elections. This is not how democracy should work, particularly in a state that has a proud progressive history. New York is among only 9 states in the country that still maintain an undemocratic, closed primary process. Meanwhile, in other states, an open primary system has proven to level the playing field for all voters, particularly those voters who are members of minority communities. For example, in the time since California eliminated its closed primary process, African American and Latino representation in the state legislature has increased 50% and 25% respectively. By contrast, under New York's current closed primary system, Black and Hispanic voters are all too often taken for granted by one party and entirely overlooked by another. My sincere hope is that we take this important 2021 election as an opportunity to reflect on this injustice. And in the proud New York tradition of bold, progressive, reform-oriented leadership, swiftly take up this cause of adopting a statewide open primary system to guarantee that every citizen has the opportunity to have their voice heard in our elections. In closing, I would like to thank Citizens Union and remind everyone here of how essential groups like Citizen Union are to our civil society. If you look at the history of this organization, you will see a consistent commitment to making the political process work through increased participation and better informed electorates. That is precisely what we need to confront the challenges of this moment in our history. So thank you for supporting this organization, and thank you for this honor.
Thank you, Lisa. And I was going to take credit for the great number of people that voted in this primary, but I guess I can't do it now. Anyway, hi, I'm Betsy Gottbaum, and I'm thrilled to be here. I think we have wonderful honorees tonight, and I will come back in a few minutes about one in particular that I'm going to introduce. However, this has been a really difficult year, as all of you know, and probably have felt it as much as we have. But we've done a lot this year, and I want to just celebrate the progress that has been made by the staff. And the things that we have done are now going to be a little bit more interesting, because we've always been about ethics reform, and we finally have a governor who's interested in it. Wow, right? And we have, and our board has a wonderful group that is doing police reform, and I think we have a mayor coming on who is also interested in police reform. So we have, I think we can be very optimistic about what will happen. I want to thank our digital newspaper, Gotham Gazette. They're here tonight somewhere, not the Gotham, who continue to bring solid, nonpartisan information about local news, which is now a rare beast because nobody else is doing anything about, or not many people are doing anything about local news. And the most important project that we did this year is Elect 2021. And it was a Herculean effort where our staff tried to tell the public who was going to be voting, and I can't remember what Lisa said. How many people voted in the primary, Lisa? A little under a million. Well, there were 300 people who were running for office, and our group interviewed, wrote about them. It was amazing what they did, and tried to inform the public what these people stood for. And it was an amazing job, and later I will introduce the person who ran the project. But anyway, I want to thank you all very much for coming. This is our first public event, I think, after a long time. It's nice to see everybody. I hope you will support us. I hope you will support Lisa's group, because the more people we can get to vote, the better we are. Thank you. Oh, yes. Sorry, I forgot. I'm introducing Eleanor Randolph. I didn't forget about Eleanor. Eleanor ran the project, the 2021 project, but you're going to see a video about her now, and then I'll come back.
Introducing Eleanor Randolph, one of Citizens Union's Gotham Greats.
My name is Gail Collins. I'm a columnist at the New York Times, and I've worked with Eleanor at the Times since the late 90s.
I'm Robert Kaiser, and I've known Eleanor for more than 40 years. We were colleagues as young reporters covering Congress. She was really an independent reporter. She didn't take any stuff from anybody. It was fun to watch.
It's hard to find people who are enthralled with the problems and politics of Albany. Eleanor has always been there and knows so much about it, and it's just been so great over the years.
She wrote a series of editorials for the Times. Everyone was labeled Fixing Albany. They were very vivid descriptions of the everyday cronyism and corruption, which led eventually to jail for the leaders of both the State Assembly and the State Senate. And that's, every journalist dreams of contributing to some nefarious characters
Everybody loves Eleanor. It's just really so cool and so nice and so much fun to be around. And she kind of takes that even to places that you don't normally expect it to be, and like editorial board meetings. It's really, really hard to find people that you can come up to at night and say, do you know what the state Senate did today? Oh my God, what are they going to do? And having her around just to talk to and hang out with was just a great comfort and joy.
She's really left a mark as a distinguished journalist, editorialist, and reporter, but also as a very decent, good person. The good people too seldom get their recognition, get their due. So I'm thrilled to be part of this occasion where a very good person is getting wonderful recognition, which is her due. I hope you wear it with pleasure and a sense of satisfaction.
Eleanor, congratulations. There are no greater citizens than you are, and I'm honored to be part of this.
We congratulate Eleanor Randolph, a Gotham great.
Speaking of fun, Eleanor came during this year and agreed to run the project 2021, which I described to you a little bit earlier. And she made it so much fun for me, and I think the people that worked with her, because she's just fun, but she also knows everything, and she doesn't lord it over you. So Eleanor, can I bring you up here and give you your award? Yes, it's your turn.
So thank you so much. I am so honored to get this award, and I'm especially honored that I'm getting this award from Citizens Union, because Citizens Union is one of the groups that really works hard to make our political world fairer, more transparent, and just plain better. Thank you especially to the fabulous Betsy Gottbaum. What a treasure she is for our city and our state, and as a friend, I have to say. Thank you to the wonderful team that helped create electnyc.org. We're still online if you want to look it up. It's still there. And especially thank you to the amazing Ben Weinberg. Whatever worked on our new website, I mean, and I can tell you that technically I had nothing to do with that part of it. Ben was there pushing the buttons. We had a wonderful time dealing with interns. We wrote and edited 324 biographies. I think that's right, Ben. And you know, we're still, Betsy has promised to pay for new glasses for all of us. Finally, I'm really humbled to get this award. My husband, who's here, Peter Pringle, my daughter, Victoria, my husband suggested I should mention all the places where I worked before I got here to New York. And this is embarrassing, but I'm going to do it. I started at the Pensacola, Florida News Journal. Then I went to the St. Pete Times. Then I went to the Chicago Sun-Times. Then I went to the Chicago Tribune. Then I went to the LA Times. And then I went to the Washington Post. And finally to the New York Times. So I've been everywhere. And finally, after nearly half a century in journalism, I would like to really accept this award on behalf of my female colleagues who became national political journalists. 5 decades ago, seems like yesterday, Timothy Krause wrote a book about the press covering presidential races. It was called The Boys on the Bus. Ha ha. The press bus, that is. That did not last. A few of us broke into that male dominion, and now some of the best political journalists in the country are women. So thank you again for this award from one of the girls on the bus.
And now a video featuring our final honoree for the evening, Barry Burke.
Introducing Barry Burke, one of Citizens Union's Gotham Greats.
I'm Paul Schumann. I'm the co-managing partner at Kramer Levin. I absolutely remember the first time I met Barry. He interviewed me. I was applying for a job. I remember sitting across the big desk of his. He was smart, he was funny, and I decided on the spot I wanted to come work at Kramer Levin, and the rest is history.
I'm Joe Neguse, Congressman for Colorado's 2nd Congressional District, and I've had the privilege and honor of working with Barry during my course of service on the House Judiciary Committee.
Hi, I'm Eric Swalwell, and I know Barry Burke through the House Judiciary Committee for both Impeachment 1 and Impeachment 2 of Donald J. Trump. The first time I met Barry, I heard him before I actually saw him, and that's usually the case with Barry. I could hear this new loud voice I'd never heard before among our committee members, who would later become one of my closest pals and one of the most important figures on the committee.
So Barry came to me in 2019 and said that he felt a call to service. Obviously, at that time, there was no greater public service than going down to Washington and working on the impeachment.
He was so skillful and purposeful and got so much more out of his questioning than any member of Congress was able to do.
To have earned the kind of respect and I think admiration from that group of members of Congress, it's sort of a testament to his character and I think to the seriousness with which he takes his job and certainly took his role.
You could see Barry Burke written all over the way that case was presented and how effective it was. Ever since I've known Barry, he's been extremely committed to public issues, and he's been very involved with the Coalition for the Homeless. I know he's the chairman of the board there. But more than that, I know that, Barry and his family are out there handing out meals from the Coalition for the Homeless van.
It's his belief that every American has a God-given right to have a champion like Barry in their corner, and that's really what he does best.
Congratulations, Barry, on this distinguished honor and award. Certainly well-deserved. You have done such an incredible job serving your community, your state, and your country.
Barry, it's been great working with you. It's been great knowing you. I am so pleased to be your friend and your colleague. I congratulate you on all of your success, and I wish you much more of it in the future.
Congratulations, Barry Burke, on receiving the Citizens Union Gotham's Great Award. You deserve it. You fight so hard, not just for the people who hire you to represent them in court, but more importantly, you fought for your country, you've defended our democracy, and I know there is a lot of great things ahead for you. Congratulations, pal.
We congratulate Barry Burke, a Gotham Great.
What can I say about Barry Burke? That he's a superstar lawyer, one of the best trial lawyers in the country? Well, I think all of you already knew that over many years. But whenever someone asks whether the law is a noble calling, I say, look at what you can do in the law, and look what Barry Burke has done in the law. We're here tonight because of a public service that we all should be extremely grateful for. First, as special counsel to the House Judiciary Committee in the first impeachment proceedings, and then as lead counsel for the House in connection with the second impeachment proceedings. Now, one impeachment proceeding would have been enough for a career, but not for Barry Burke. And I can only say I watched with such admiration as I saw his handiwork, as I described them, his fingerprints over everything that went on in that second impeachment trial. And as you saw, each of the House members who tried that case, who prosecuted that case, finish an amazing presentation, moving presentation, compelling presentation. I hope you noticed it was Barry Burke that they went to ask, to say, Barry, what'd you think? What'd you think? They went to him right after they performed. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is because he's not only a great trial lawyer, he's a great American. And for that, he is our recipient of the Gotham Great Award, a Gotham Great in every sense, my friend, Barry Burke.
Thank you, Randy Mastro, for your over-the-top and very generous words. Thank you, Randy, for your service to the city and state and all the great things you've done, including chairing this extraordinary organization. And Randy, I'm going to thank you for something you don't even know about. Nearly 30 years ago, you were a hotshot deputy mayor for one Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Big personality, all over the papers, big guy. And I was on a first date. And lo and behold, at Steak Frites, you walked in to have a dinner, all of you with your big persona. And it helped me and my date have a topic to talk about, making fun of you and Rudy a little bit. But it helped to avoid the awkwardness of a first date. And that first date went pretty well, because that first date and I just celebrated our 24th wedding anniversary last week, thanks to you. So Allison and I, who's here, thank you for your service that night. Thank you. Betsy, thank you for you and what everyone does at Citizen Union. That's so important and so necessary in these times. And I'd like to congratulate my co-honorees for their recognition and also for their great works, particularly their great works for the election and everything that's needed. And I have to tell you, I am so thrilled to be honored tonight by Citizens Union because of all the important work they do for our city and state, but particularly the work they do to enfranchise New Yorkers. And I've spent a better part of the last year and a half dealing with folks trying to do the opposite, trying to disenfranchise voters and citizens. And after I served as counsel in the first impeachment, I represented Pennsylvania and Michigan in connection with the elections and then the challenges to those results. And in some measure, the 2020 presidential election was a high point of our democratic system. In the midst of an unprecedented pandemic, when people were afraid to vote, when election workers were afraid to go to work, states adjusted, they facilitated the vote, and we had the highest turnout ever for a presidential election, a true high point in our democratic system. But unfortunately, there was also a low point, and that was the unprecedented attacks on the integrity of our election and the results that we saw. They required the courts to step in to say that the elections were actually honest and the results were not stolen, despite those fanciful claims. It required the states to step up and certify the results, despite attacks, death threats on election officials of both Democratic and Republican Party, and for those patriots to actually certify the results, even though many of them in states like Georgia had supported the losing candidate. And those efforts to undermine the core principle of our democracy, free and fair elections, were ham-handed, Three Stooges-esque at best. At best. but they had an impact. They moved a mob of people who were so upset that the election of their candidate, the president, was stolen, and they knew it was stolen because the president told them it was stolen, that they attacked another branch of government to try to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power for the first time in our nation's history. It didn't happen during the election before the Civil War. And when I went down to Washington 3 weeks later to serve as chief impeachment counsel for the House, I saw the damage to the Capitol. We walked by it every day. I saw the damage to the psyche of the people who were there, the elected officials, the reporters, everyone. And I spent a lot of time worrying about the damage to our democracy when people started to lose faith in the integrity of our elections, or that a losing candidate would respect the result in the greatest democracy of the world. And I also became concerned because although the efforts to challenge the election were so amateurish, they actually provided a roadmap for those who had more time and greater focus to try to challenge and undermine our fair and free elections. And before this experience, I sort of believed that the core principles underlying our democracy were ingrained in our laws and our election systems. And what I really came to learn is that those principles were more guidelines that nobody dared challenge for hundreds of years because of the universal acceptance that they were at the heart of what makes our democracy so important. And nobody had the temerity to suggest that the votes shouldn't determine who gets elected. And I am deeply worried that now this Pandora's box has been opened and suggestions have been made about the role state legislatures can play in overruling the vote of the people and all sorts of other shenanigans that can suggest something other than the vote of the people should determine the winner of an election, that we all have to take that as a call to arms to protect the right to vote, a call to arms to protect the counting of that vote, and a call to arms, and this is the kicker, to protect that the winner is the candidate who received the most votes. Now, I take heart somewhat in that I think our founders anticipated these problems might arise in a variety of different ways. One example is Benjamin Franklin, when he was in a city that my opponent in the second impeachment referred to as Philadelphia. He was there in 1778 for the Constitutional Convention. As he was leaving Independence Hall, somebody in the crowd said, "Doctor, so what is it, a monarchy or a republic?" And he famously said, "It's a republic if we can keep it." And it is through the works of the Citizens Union and other organizations that are fighting for the right to vote, the counting of the vote, the integrity of the vote, that is helping us to keep the republic. So I'm so grateful for the work of everyone here at the Citizens Union and so honored to be receiving this award tonight. Thank you all for your support.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our program for this evening, but I have to say something on a personal note. Just the last year and a half has been so brutal for all of us, and to be together again tonight, to celebrate all that Citizens Union does, but also to know what it needs to continue to do, and to have honored these three individuals. Lisa, unbelievable work for our local democracy. Eleanor, a lifetime of holding government accountable, and what you did for us on a voluntary basis over the last year, we just thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And Barry, what you did for our country, standing up for our democracy. I could not be more proud. I don't, and I say this as seeing other former Gotham greats in the audience, and they were all great events, but I've never enjoyed one of these events more than tonight. So thank you, every one of you. Go forth, stay safe. Thank you. Thank you.